Hello, I'm Ranger Zeb, and welcome on behalf of the National Park Service to part 2 of the Ellis Island Expedition series. In the first part of the series, we learned about how Ellis Island became the first federal immigration inspection station. Ellis Island was most active over 100 years ago, between 1892 and 1924, when many people didn't have electricity in their houses and walking or using horses was much more common than cars for getting around. As we learn about what brought immigrants to the United States and what the journey was like for those who came to Ellis Island, try to imagine how different life was in this time period. What makes a person want to leave their country and move to an unfamiliar one? The reasons a person chooses to immigrate to a new country are called push and pull factors. Push factors are the reasons immigrants choose to leave the country they are living in. These are called push factors because, in a sense, they are pushing people out of that country. Pull factors are the things that attract people to a new country, and you can think of these as pulling people towards a certain country. Try to think of a few examples of push and pull factors. Remember, you can pause the video while you think of examples. During the time of Ellis Island, common push factors around the world were low food supply, war, corrupt governments, lack of jobs, and religious persecution. Pull factors often have to do with the available jobs, safety, and even what the land and weather are like. In the time of Ellis Island, many places around the world were experiencing increases in push factors, but most of the Ellis Island immigrants arrived from Europe. Let's take a look at a map to help us understand why. Here is New York, right next to the Atlantic Ocean, and directly across the Atlantic is Europe. Some Ellis Island immigrants that came from places other than Europe, but the majority arrived after a voyage across the Atlantic Ocean known as the transatlantic journey. For just a moment, think about how the transatlantic journey might be done today and how it might have been done over 100 years ago. Air travel wasn't available in Ellis Island's time, but there was a new type of ship called a steamship that started to become popular in about 1870. Powered by coal, steamships were bigger, faster, safer, and even a little more comfortable than sailing ships were. In the older sailing ships, powered only by the wind, the journey took about 3 months. Can you imagine spending an entire summer on board a ship? Though they were not as fast as airplanes, steamships usually took around 10 days to cross the Atlantic Ocean, but that was much faster than the months it would take in a sailing ship. Along with the journey being faster and safer, many more people were able to afford steamship tickets. These coal-powered ships were so large that a brand new type of ticket was created. Take a look at this cross-section of steamship that shows the different cabins that were available to passengers. Rooms on the upper part of the ship were the first and second class cabins. On board most steamships, the first and second class passengers had great food, entertainment, and big private rooms. But these tickets were expensive and usually only accounted for a small number of the cabins available on board the ship. The majority of the tickets on a steamship were known as steerage, which cost much less than the first and second class tickets. These tickets were called steerage because they were down below the deck, close to the part of the ship that does the steering. The downside of these less expensive tickets was that you were not going to be as comfortable as the first or second class passengers. Steerage cabins were big rooms with bunk beds, so passengers had to sleep in a room full of strangers.